Think you're tough? You go to the gym 3 times a week. You can do 50 push-ups. You ran a 5K once. You consider yourself pretty fit. Great. Now imagine this. You wake up at 4 a.m. to the sound of a whip cracking. You haven't eaten in 18 hours. You're expected to run 10 miles through mountains before breakfast, then fight other warriors in hand-to-hand combat, then practice with weapons for 6 hours, all while being beaten if you show weakness. And if you complain, you're exiled as a coward. Welcome to an average day as a Spartan warrior. This is why you wouldn't last 24 hours in ancient Sparta. And I'm not exaggerating. Most modern people, even fit athletic ones, would break within hours. Here's exactly what would happen to you, hour by hour, on your first day as a Spartan warrior. And trust me, it gets worse as the day goes on. 4 a.m., the day begins. You're woken not by an alarm, but by an older warrior kicking your sleeping mat and shouting. There's no snooze button. There's no 5 more minutes. You stand immediately or you're beaten. But here's your first problem. You didn't actually sleep much. Spartan warriors slept on thin reed mats on the ground. No mattress, no pillow, no blanket, unless it was winter. The barracks were cold, uncomfortable, and deliberately harsh. Modern people are used to comfortable beds, climate control, and 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Spartans got maybe 5 to 6 hours of rough sleep on the ground. You're already starting the day exhausted and sore. 4 or 5 a.m., the cold bath. Before anything else, you're marched to the river for a cold water bath. Not a refreshing shower, a plunge into genuinely cold water, regardless of the season or weather. Your body, used to hot showers and gradual wake-ups, goes into shock. Your muscles seize. You gasp for air. The Spartans around you dive in without hesitation. Used to this since childhood, you're already shivering and miserable, and the day has barely started. 4:15 a.m. Inspection. You stand in formation while senior warriors inspect you. They check if your body is fit. If you're overweight, weak, or soft, you're mocked publicly and assigned extra physical training. Here's the brutal reality. Most modern people, even gym goers, would fail this inspection. Spartans had body fat percentages of 6 to 8%. They had muscle definition that modern bodybuilders achieve only through extreme dieting. You, with your normal modern body, are immediately identified as soft and inadequate. The mockery begins. Other warriors call you weak. They laugh at your physique. In Spartan culture, shame was a powerful motivator. You're not just failing, you're humiliated in front of everyone. 4:30 a.m. The morning run. Now comes the part that breaks most people, the morning run. You're told to run 10 miles through mountains at pace with warriors who have been doing this since age 7. There are no water breaks, no stopping. If you fall behind, you're beaten with sticks to motivate you. Modern people are not prepared for this. Even if you run recreationally, you probably do 3 to 5 miles on flat ground at your own pace, with water available. This is 10 miles of brutal mountain terrain at a pace dictated by men who can run marathons without breaking a sweat. Within 2 miles, you're gasping for air. Your legs are burning, your heart is pounding. You want to stop, but stopping means beatings and shame. So you continue, suffering through every step. By mile 5, you're seriously considering quitting. By mile 7, you're barely moving. The Spartans around you aren't even breathing hard. This is their warm-up. For you, it's torture. 5:30 a.m., return to barracks. You stagger back to the barracks after an hour of running. You're drenched in sweat, your legs are shaking, and you feel like you're going to vomit. You desperately want water, food, and rest. You get none of those things. Not yet. The Pale. Without any recovery time, you're marched to the training ground for what Spartans called the Pale wrestling and hand-to-hand combat practice. You're paired with another warrior. He's shorter than you but has muscles like steel cables and moves with terrifying speed. He's been training since age 7. You've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes twice a week for 6 months. The difference is immediately obvious. 5:35 a.m., your first fight. The instructor says, begin, and your opponent immediately tackles you to the ground. You hit the dirt hard on top of you, pinning you with his weight, and you can't move. You tap out the universal signal of submission in modern martial arts. He doesn't stop. In Spartan training, there's no tapping out. The fight continues until someone is physically unable to continue or the instructor calls it. He applies a chokehold. You're panicking now, trying to breathe, tapping frantically. Nothing. Finally, the instructor calls the fight. You've lost in under 30 seconds. 5:40 a.m. Again, you're given 30 seconds to breathe, then told to fight again. Different opponent. Same result. You're thrown, pinned, choked, and submitted within seconds. This continues for an hour. Fight after fight, loss after loss. Your body is covered in bruises. You're bleeding from scrapes. Your pride is completely destroyed. Modern martial arts gyms have rules, safety equipment, and controlled environments. Spartan combat training had none of that. It was as close to real fighting as possible without actual weapons. And you, with your limited modern training, are completely outmatched. 6:30 a.m. Weapons practice begins. You think it can't get worse. It does. Now you're handed a spear and shield and told to practice phalanx formations. The shield weighs 15 pounds. Your arms are already exhausted from an hour of fighting. But you're expected to hold the shield at chest level for extended periods while practicing. This is just the first 2 hours. You haven't eaten. You're exhausted. You're injured. You're humiliated. And the day has barely started. Hour 3. Phalanx drill. 6:30 a.m., 7:30 a.m. The shield is back up. Your arms have moved past pain into numbness. The instructor is now teaching phalanx movements, coordinated steps where dozens of warriors move as one unit. Step forward, lock shields. Step back, turn right, lock shields again, over and over. For an hour, here's where modern people really struggle. This requires both physical endurance and mental focus. You're exhausted, punished severely. You step left when you should step right. The warrior next to you crashes into you. Formation breaks. Everyone stops. The instructor walks over and hits you with a stick, not a light tap, a genuine strike that leaves a welt. Again, he says, you do it again, and again, and again. Each mistake results in physical punishment. Modern people are not mentally prepared for this. We're used to encouraging coaches, constructive feedback, and positive reinforcement. Spartan training used pain as the teacher. 7:30 a.m., breakfast, finally. After 3.5 hours of physical torture, you finally get food. You're starving. You haven't eaten since yesterday afternoon. You're dreaming of a big meal, protein, carbs, maybe some fruit. You get a small bowl of black broth, melas, zomos, and a piece of hard sugar and salt. It tastes exactly as awful as it sounds. The bread is so hard you have to soak it in the broth to even bite it. And the portion is tiny, maybe 300 to 400 calories total. Modern people eat 2,000 to 3,000 calories per day. You've already burned 1,500 plus calories this morning, and you're being given less than 400. You're still hungry after eating. Spartans considered hunger a normal state. You consider it torture. 8 a.m. Skill training. Now comes javelin throwing, sword fighting, and tactical instruction. In theory, this should be easier than the physical torture of the morning. It's not. Your body is completely exhausted. Your hands are shaking. Your vision is slightly blurry from fatigue and hunger. When you throw the javelin, it wobbles and falls short. When you swing the sword, your form is terrible because your muscles can barely respond. The instructors are not sympathetic. Again, pathetic. A child throws better than you. Modern people are used to taking breaks, drinking water, and resting between activities. Spartans trained continuously for hours with minimal breaks. Your body and mind are approaching total shutdown. 9 a.m. Situational training. You're divided into groups and given a scenario. Your group is a patrol that's been ambushed. You must fight your way out. This turns into another brutal sparring session. You're hit repeatedly with wooden weapons. Every movement hurts. Your body is covered in bruises. You're limping. You want to quit so badly. But quitting means being labeled a coward. In Spartan society, cowardice was worse than death. Cowards were exiled, shamed, and forbidden from marrying. Their families were dishonored. So no matter how much pain you're in, quitting isn't really an option. 10 a.m. Endurance test. The instructor announces an endurance test. Carry your shield and spear and run up a nearby mountain and back down. No time limit, but lagging behind means extra training tomorrow. Your legs are already destroyed from the morning run. Adding a 15-pound shield and running uphill seems impossible. But everyone else is already moving, so you follow. This is where most modern people would physically break. Not mentally, physically. Your body simply cannot continue. Your muscles have no energy left. Your cardiovascular system is maxed out. You're running on pure adrenaline and fear of punishment. Halfway up the mountain, you collapse. You literally cannot stand. The other warriors run past you. An instructor stays behind, shouting at you to get up. You try. You can't. Your legs won't respond. This is the moment most modern people would be removed from training, not for quitting, but because their body has shut down. Spartans who trained from childhood had bodies adapted to this. You don't. Hour 6 to 8, the afternoon, 10:30 a.m., 12:30 p.m. Let's say somehow you recovered and continued. The afternoon brings different challenges, military theory and songs, You sit finally and learn military tactics, Spartan law, and memorize war songs. This should be the easy part. It's not. You're so exhausted you can barely keep your eyes open. The instructor is explaining Phalanx tactics, but you can't focus. Your body is demanding sleep. You nod off. You're immediately struck awake. Falling asleep during instruction is punished. You force your eyes open and try to focus, but your brain is foggy from exhaustion, hunger, and pain. Modern people need mental breaks. We can't maintain focus for 8+ hours of continuous activity, especially when physically exhausted and underfed. Spartans were trained from childhood to push through mental fatigue. You weren't. 12:30 p.m. midday meal. You get another small meal, more barley bread, some cheese, dried figs. Again, it's barely enough to maintain basic function, let alone recover from the morning's torture. You eat mechanically, too tired to even taste it. Other warriors are talking and joking. You can barely lift your arms to bring food to your mouth. More combat, more running, more pain. The afternoon is structured similarly to the morning. More fighting, more weapon drills, more running. Your body has nothing left to give. Every movement is agony. Your muscles are so fatigued that simple tasks, picking up a shield, throwing a spear, require enormous mental effort to command your body to move. You're moving in a fog now. Everything hurts. You're hungry. You're exhausted beyond anything you've experienced. And the worst part? The Spartans around you aren't even breathing hard. For them, this is normal. For you, it's hell. 2 p.m. Swimming in armor. Here's something modern people don't expect. Spartans practice swimming in full armor. You're taken to a river and told to swim across while wearing your bronze breastplate. The armor weighs 30 to 40 pounds. Bolt attempts to adapt. 4 p.m. Final run. The day ends with another run. 5 miles this time, but it might as well be 50. Your legs are completely destroyed. Every step is torture. You're not running, you're shambling forward like a zombie, driven only by the fear of punishment. You finish dead last. Everyone is already back at the barracks. You arrive 20 minutes after everyone else, barely able to walk. 4:30 p.m. Evening duties. You think training is over. It's not. Now come the evening duties that maintain Spartan society. You're assigned to repair equipment, sharpening weapons, fixing shield straps, maintaining armor. In your exhausted state, this is surprisingly difficult. Your hands are shaking so badly, you can barely hold tools. A senior warrior supervises, criticizing your work. The shield strap you're fixing isn't tight enough. Do it again. The spear you're sharpening isn't sharp enough. Do it again. Modern people expect to clock out after work. Spartans had no concept of off-duty. You were always training, always working, always preparing for war. 5:30 p.m. Evening meal. Dinner is the largest meal of the day, but don't get excited. It's still minimal by modern standards. More black broth, more barley bread, a small amount of meat or fish. You eat at the syssitia, the communal dining mess. Here's where you learn another brutal reality. Spartans mocked weakness constantly. Your struggles today are now public entertainment. The new one couldn't even hold his shield for an hour. He collapsed on the mountain run like an old woman. I've seen children with more endurance. The mockery is relentless. In modern society, this would be bullying. In Sparta, it was social pressure to improve, but it destroys your already shattered morale. You're not just physically broken, you're mentally crushed. 6:30 p.m. Tactical discussion. After dinner, warriors discuss tactics, share knowledge about enemies, and debate military strategy. This is actually mentally stimulating and interesting, except you can't focus. You're so exhausted that their words sound like meaningless noise. Your eyes keep closing. You're using every ounce of willpower just to stay awake. Someone asks you a question about phalanx spacing. You have no idea what they just said. You mumble something incoherent. More laughter, more mockery. 7:30 p.m. Personal time. Finally, you finally get a small window of personal time. Modern people would use this to relax, scroll phones, watch TV, decompress. You use it to assess your injuries. Your body is covered in bruises, deep purple marks on your arms, legs, and torso from the day's combat. You have scrapes and cuts that need attention. Your muscles are so sore that even sitting hurts. You try to clean your wounds with water and cloth. Everything stings. You're too tired to do it properly. You just want to sleep. 8 p.m. Evening calisthenics. Just when you think the day is finally ending, there's one more activity. Evening calisthenics. Push-ups, squats, lunges, core work. Nothing extreme by modern gym standards, except you've been training for 14 hours already. Your body has nothing left. You attempt a push-up. Your arms buckle. You collapse face first into the dirt. You can't do a single rep. An instructor yells at you. You try again. You can't. This is complete physical failure. Your muscles literally cannot contract anymore. Modern people never push to this point. We stop when tired. Spartans didn't recognize tired as a valid excuse. Hour 18 to 24, night and the reality. 8:30 p.m. 4 a.m. 9 p.m. night watch assignment. Here's something you didn't expect. You don't get to sleep through the night. Warriors rotate through night watch duty, guarding the barracks and city. You're assigned the midnight to 2 a.m. shift. This means you'll get maybe 2 hours of sleep before your shift, then maybe 2. Every position hurts. You're too tired to even find a comfortable way to lie down. But exhaustion wins. You pass out immediately, despite the discomfort and pain. 12 a.m. night watch. 2 hours later, you're kicked awake for your watch shift. Getting up is almost impossible. Your muscles have stiffened. Every movement causes pain. You stumble outside into the cold night air. You're given a spear and told to patrol the perimeter for 2 hours. Stay alert. Watch for threats. You're so tired you can barely walk in a straight line. Your eyes keep closing. You're fighting sleep with every step. Modern people can't function like this. We need sleep. Spartans were trained to begins. 2 hours later, you're kicked awake again. Day 2 is starting. Except you can't even stand up. Your body is so destroyed from yesterday that your muscles don't respond to commands. You're not being dramatic or weak. You're physically incapable of continuing. This is where your 24 hours ends. Not because you quit, because your body quit. The Spartan advantage. Here's the reality. Spartans could do this because they started at age 7. Their bodies adapted over 13 years of gradual conditioning. Their minds were shaped by constant exposure to hardship. By age 20, this brutal routine was normal, not easy, but manageable. You tried to do in one day what took them 13 years to build up to. Of course, you failed. The modern body. Modern people are not weak. We're just adapted to different challenges. We can sit and focus on complex tasks for hours. We can learn new skills quickly. We can thrive in air-conditioned offices and technological environments. But we're not physically conditioned for the brutal endurance that Spartan life demanded. Our bodies are optimized for modern life. Less physical, more cerebral, more specialized. The numbers don't lie. Let's quantify your first day. Hours of sleep, 4 need 8. Calories consumed, to 1,500. Burned, 4,000 plus. Miles run, 15 plus through mountains. Hours of combat training, 4 plus. Hours of weapons training, 4 plus. Number of times hit, injured, 30 plus. Times you wanted to quit, constantly. No modern person, no matter how fit, could sustain this. Even elite military special forces don't train at this intensity for this duration, especially not on minimal calories and sleep. The mental component. Physical failure is actually the smaller problem. The mental aspect is worse. Modern people are used to comfort, encouragement, and gradual progression. We try hard things, but we have support systems, positive feedback, and the option to take breaks or quit if it's too much. Spartan training offered none of that. It was constant pain, constant mockery, constant pressure, with no escape except exile and shame. Mentally, most modern people would break before their bodies did. What we can learn. But here's the interesting part. The fact that you couldn't do this doesn't mean you're weak. It means human potential is shaped by environment and training. Spartans weren't genetically superior. They were environmentally conditioned from childhood. Start training any child in this system from age 7, and by age 20, they could do it too. This tells us something important. Our limits are largely determined by our training, our environment, and our expectations. Modern people have different limits because we train for different things. The final reality: you wouldn't last 24 hours as a Spartan warrior. Neither would almost anyone else alive today. And that's not a criticism, it's just reality. We've optimized for different challenges. We've adapted to different environments. We've built different capabilities. Spartans could endure physical hardship that would break modern people. But modern people can handle complexity, specialize in skills, and adapt to technological change in ways that would baffle ancient Spartans. Different times, different challenges, different capabilities. But for that one day in Sparta, with its brutal training, minimal food, constant pain, and relentless demands, yeah, you'd fail. We all would. And the Spartans would mock us for it while doing another 10-mile run before breakfast.